Hi guys, and welcome back to the final episode of the Common Mistakes training series. Today we're going to focus on abdominals and the common mistakes which people make when it comes to training them. Now, first of all, the most common mistake people make is thinking that training their abs more is going to get them more visible. In some sense, yes, that might be the case if you are actually increasing the size of the abdominal muscles. However, if you do not have your body fat low enough, they simply will not show, okay? The most important thing you need to prioritize if you want to have a visible six-pack effect is to sort out your nutrition. Reduce your body fat and your abdominals will show, okay? You can't say, I don't have abs. Everybody has abs. Males, females, they all have the same structure of the four abdominal muscle groups. So bear that in mind. Now, the first mistake which people make is they have an inability to properly contract the abdominal muscles. So what does that mean? Okay, ask yourself, contract your abs. Can you contract your abs? Now, by contracting your abs, I mean in the same way that you would do a bicep curl, by squeezing your bicep or squeezing your chest. You need to be able to squeeze and contract your abdominals optimally in order to train them properly. So how do we do that? The best way to do that is to exhale and squeeze. Now, if you have no idea how to do this, all I can say is you just need to practice in front of the mirror. You might not get it straight away, but it's something that will improve over time. You've got to teach yourself how to engage your core and build a very strong mind-muscle connection. So, by squeezing, I mean this. Tighten everything together. Everything is tightest when I've emptied my lungs full of air. Relaxed. So you look, I'm completely relaxed. I'm almost pushing out. There's not much going on here. However, if I was to exhale and squeeze, everything tightens. So if we were to do a very basic abdominal movement, which is like a knee tuck, what you need to be able to do as you come up is to squeeze your core and crunch as hard as possible. So don't just think about moving yourself from point A to B. I can do that easily. You know, yes, I'm working my abs to some extent, but the quality of the reps are not as good as they should be. Take your time and think, right, as you come up to the top position, squeeze and crunch your core as hard as you can, and then come back down. Come up, squeeze your core as hard as you can, and then come back down. You need to be able to contract and squeeze your core with almost every abdominal exercise that you do. Another common mistake I see people make is they have an inability to control their breathing. So what that means is they basically either hold their breath or they breathe in when they should actually be breathing out. The best way to get an optimal contraction is to exhale as you squeeze, okay? So as you come to the top portion of the rep, you should be breathing out. As you reach the very top, the peak contraction, your lungs should be emptied of air. As you come back down and start to relax, you should inhale, okay? And if at any point you feel as though you've lost control of your breath, just rest. Just take the time, get your breath back, and then go again. There's no point, you know, I see this happen when I train my clients. As soon as they lose control of that rhythm of their breathing, they try and increase the speed of their reps, and then their breathing is all over the place. And what do you get? You just get ineffective reps, which aren't really targeting the core as good as they could be. So I'll show you an example with the decline crunch. What you need to do, obviously I'm not going to do this perfectly because I need to talk as I go through the motion of this, but as we come down, you're going to inhale, take a deep breath, and as you come up, begin to exhale. And as you reach the very top of the crunch, your lungs should be completely emptied of oxygen, not oxygen, air, and at that top movement, I want you to squeeze your core as much as possible. As you begin to come down, breathe in, and then Exhale and squeeze. A little tip with doing a decline crunch as well. A lot of people overcompensate with the hip flexors and find out that the legs actually get tired before their core does. So what you need to do when you do a decline crunch is you need to just switch your legs off. Imagine you cannot use your legs whatsoever. The only thing you can use in order to lift your torso up is just your core. Completely relax the legs and squeeze the core, yeah? Far too many people actually use the hip flexors and their legs to lift themselves up. One more thing with a decline crunch, people come up way too high. They come up to this position here. In this position here, I'm just resting. You know, gravity is acting directly down my spine, so I'm not actually required to do anything at this point. There is no tension on my core. So a lot of people come up to the top of the rep and they have a little bit of a rest. What you need to do, ideally for optimal stimulation, is probably stop at this position here, where your body is around 45 degrees, so gravity is still trying to pull the weight of my body down, but I'm resisting it by engaging my core and by trying to freaking switch my legs off at the same time. The rope crunch is probably one of the most important ones where you need to get your breathing right, okay? If you're not exhaling as you come down and contract, your repetitions are going to be pretty damn shoddy, okay? You need to do, if I tell you breathe, I would just say you're not doing it properly. I want you to over-exaggerate your breathing, like this. So as I'm coming down to the bottom of the rep, not only am I exhaling, I'm coming down, I'm blowing out all of the air that's inside of my lungs, and I'm crunching and squeezing my core together. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I did the rope crunch, I didn't feel it where I should be feeling it. Because I didn't really know how to activate my core properly, and I just wasn't aware of what or how I should be doing this exercise. So it took some time for me to familiarize myself with this one. But when it comes down to it, if I was to pick 5 of my top abdominal exercises, this would be one of them. So just because you don't feel an exercise work properly, don't think, oh, you know what, that exercise is not for me. It can be, you just need to work at it. Practice, 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 and you will figure it out. Trust me, it'll be like a light switch that's going on in your head. You'll be like, ah, okay, that's how you do it, yeah? So just practice and don't give up. Another common mistake which people make is creating momentum during the movement. So basically what this means is you're using other muscle groups and using other body parts to generate momentum to make the actual movement itself easier for you. So you're overall placing less tension on the abs and you won't be overloading them as much. So with an example of the decline crunch, I'm going to show you an example of how creating momentum can make the exercise easier for yourself. People will often start with the legs down here, pull the legs up all the way to this top position. So this movement here, relatively not that effective for the abs, more so for the hip flexors. And as your hip flexors have pulled your legs up, you've created momentum, making it easier for you to lift your lower back off the bench. What I would like you to do, in order to really stimulate your lower abs and your core, come down, pause at this point here, so you will be starting the movement from a complete standstill. And you will find it's much harder to perform. Pause, up, and squeeze. Reduce momentum. So I'm going to show you another example of a decline crunch on how people like to create momentum. They'll usually bring their hands back all the way here and then try and push themselves, lift themselves off the bench by creating momentum. Another mistake which I see a lot of people make is that they fail to keep their head and neck in line with their torso. I get a lot of people complaining about neck strains and neck injuries when they've been performing a lot of abdominal movements, and that's because they've been trying to lift themselves up using their head. Okay, so you need to stop that completely. The best way I can advise you to do that, if you're doing any kind of abdominal exercise, just keep your head looking at the ceiling. Okay, so if you come up and crunch, keep your head up. I'll show you an example of how you shouldn't be doing it. Trying to do this, trying to bring your head towards your waist. You're going to put a lot of strain on your neck if you do that. Keep looking at the ceiling. Exhale and try and lift yourself up just by contracting your core. And down. Keep looking up, squeeze your core and down. Again, I'm just going to show you another example of how not to do it. Head, try to bring your head towards your hips. You're going to strain your neck. Keep your head up. Crunch, squeeze and down. Up, crunch, squeeze and down. Another common mistake which I see people make is thinking that doing more is going to do more good. No, okay? When it comes to your repetitions and abdominal training, always go for quality over quantity. So I don't care if you can do 500 reps in a day or 1,000 reps in a day. It doesn't matter if the quality of those reps are pretty damn bad, then it's not going to be that effective. I would rather spend less time training my abs less frequently, but making those sessions as optimal as possible. Okay, if you understand what I mean? That's what I want to be going for. You shouldn't really need to spend an hour training your abs. They're a very small muscle group, and the potential for growth is not the same with other larger muscle groups. There's a limit to how big they can actually get. I wouldn't worry about getting bulky, thick waist. It just doesn't happen like that. The only thing that will happen if your abdominal muscles do get bigger, you're just going to see deeper cuts, and they'll probably be more visible when your body fat's a little bit higher. I noticed that myself. My body fat isn't actually that low, but because I've got big ass bulky abs, I actually look leaner than I am, if you know what I mean. So now I'm going to show you the difference between good quality reps versus poor quality reps. This is someone who might think doing more is better, okay? Just repping it out. I can do this for a long period of time. However, let's improve the quality of the reps. See the difference? I'm taking my time with that. I'm focusing on my breathing, holding the contractions, slowing the tempo down. And you know what? If I was to do 15 reps of those, I'm going to tire pretty quickly. Whereas, doing those poor quality reps, I could go on and on and on. One more final mistake I see people make. It's not really a mistake, but it's something you need to bear in mind. Just think to yourself, where am I feeling it? Where is the tension being placed? I see this with people, with my clients. I will always ask them, okay, where did you feel that? And if they're doing an abdominal crunch or any abdominal focused exercise, and they say that they're feeling it in their legs, or they're feeling it in their neck, or they're feeling it in their calf, obviously that's not the goal of the exercise. So I'm going to ask them, okay, why is that the case? And more often than not, there's a few things that need to change, not only with their posture, but just mentally, okay? Doing an abdominal exercise takes quite a lot of concentration. You have to just get rid of all the distractions around you and completely focus on what you are trying to do, what muscles you are trying to engage. Don't let anything distract you, okay? Now I've got to say a couple of things about the old notorious leg raise, because I feel as though people are doing these for the wrong reasons. Okay, if we just go through what most people will do, they'll do this. They'll just swing their legs up and only come to the point where the legs are parallel to the ground. The whole bottom portion of this movement, it's not really engaging your abs, particularly lower abs at all. You see hip flexors, which are doing the majority of the work, are actually lifting your legs up. You'll get some proper lower abdominal stimulation if you get your knees all the way to your chest. That's when the real work is happening, and that is where you'll find it to be most difficult, this point here. So if you do want to carry on doing the leg raise, focus on the top range of the movement, it's a hell of a lot harder, as you can tell. Right guys, that's a wrap with the common mistake training videos. I think I've covered every muscle group in those videos, so if you haven't seen the rest of them, make sure you check them out on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks again for watching.